Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. The plan for world peace has been opened up to debate, and people all over the world are aware of the plan. We have members, of today, we have members in 87 countries. So that allows us to demonstrate that there is support, a multicultural support. And so this is not something where this is not a trickle down idea. This is a trickle up idea that where if we can get cultural review on our plan, then it's a really good plan. Okay, where we are right now is let's say a journey. We're on a journey, and when you're driving along and you're going from, let's say, one side of the country to the other, you know where you are, you know where you're going, and then the rest of it is a series of stops and events, and that allows you to know. So let's say that our newsletters, for example, say this is the journey that we're going to go on, and then each one is like a snapshot of the journey. Okay, so today we're going to look at that overview idea. We're going to understand that this is a journey, world peace is a journey, and we know we're in like existential threats right now with global warming and the plastics in the oceans and affecting food supplies and the governments and the pandemic, and all of these problems that we have are basically existential threats, and there's actually more of them too. One of them is the mining the oceans for rare earth minerals, because the oceans work as batteries. This is one of our projects, is dealing with let's say cell phones, which is not a good thing. The other is like nuclear power, and how those affect mankind, where people with limited perspectives say we can solve these problems, but it isn't necessarily addressing the root cause of the problem. So I'll get into that. So what we're going to do right now is to take a little snapshot of where we are. The journey has been going on basically for the last 21 years, almost 22 years. In May of 1999, I channeled a manual for peace, and the first book of it. So that gave us the idea in our prayer circle that world peace is possible, and then we had to figure out how to get there, and so we knew where we were. We didn't know all the ups and downs of the journey. We didn't know the big hurdle that was going to be like the Rocky Mountains, that was based on Armageddon, and then so world peace, and that is, let's say, in a manual for peace, that's where we are, like an overview journey, the things that we have to address. Not only that, but what it is, how it's defined. So where we are now is we're going to take a little snapshot of this, and we're going to look at what we have here in terms of our plan in Washington, D.C. Now, the reason that we're focused right now on Washington, D.C. is the focus is on the United States. We're an overview melting pot nation, and therefore what we are doing is, if we can bring peace in the United States amongst all the different cultures, cultural review kind of thing, what we have then is then it can be applied on a global basis. But what our organization is we are a microcosm also of the whole world and all the countries. And so if we can bring peace in our own organization, then we can also bring peace within the United States, and then we can also apply the same principles on the global basis with individual countries. Now, so what has been happening now, I'm going to just go over that in case the only video you ever watch are these overviews. Okay, where we are now is the Iraq War has separated people into 4 different groups. The people who stand on the principles, the people who go when these people stand on principles, these people go down into the games because their security and support is based on these people. Okay, then there are the average people whose lives are affected, and then the people who function for their own interests. So if you divide the entire population of the planet into these 4 groups, it's easy to see how this separation is going on. This is known as Armageddon. This same separation started out, applies to a movement. So we have the world peace movement that's going on right now. All right, but it started out, the schism started out with the preemptive strike that started the Iraq War. So talking about existential threats, we have a global genocide that's devolving also, but by turning it over, let's say at one end we have the global genocide, and at the other end we have world peace to create a solution for this global genocide. So that is what my situation is. I channeled a manual for peace, and now it's up to me to be like the overview idea, the principle of the organization, and I am introducing all this channeled information that allows people to take this journey. Let's say I'm the navigator. Okay, now not saying that I'm important. I'm just like everybody else. I'm sitting at the back of the bus, so you could say, on this journey, and every once in a while I get out and I take pictures. So, and I'm not the only one on the journey. There's 200 nations, and so we're focused right now on the United States as the overview, and an existential threat that was the global genocide that came about by failed policy. Okay, then what's going to happen is that, let's say I'm the first person on the bus, but then other people are going to be getting on the bus too, and they're going to be they're going to be going on a different, they're going to be focused on different things. So mine is the Iraq. I'm parallel to Saddam Hussein, and the things that have happened to me are the same. A character defamation campaign, basically based on this plan for world peace. People have been tearing me apart and the organization apart for a long time. But now what's going to happen is that allows us to introduce a solution to that situation. Okay, I'm going to explain where this is now based on this thing, my snapshot. Then other people will come in and do videos too, and then I'll continue on. It will be like building blocks. My situation allows other people to come in, and then that allows me to go up, and then those people will just start to build this foundation. Okay, and I'll explain that more. So where we have now is the 4 people, groups of people who stand on the principles, the people who grab for power, because they're playing power games. These are, you could say, these are the people, and the average people whose lives are affected, and then these are the people who function for their own interests. So in the United States, let's say we have the Democratic Party, who basically, they get in there, they do their jobs. They're conscious about the fact that they are there because their people, constituents had voted for them. They are tackling the jobs. But the Republican Party is made up of people who are grabbing for power because money has always been important to them. That's why Donald Trump has been able to go in there and say, we're going to make America great again. we're going to make America prosperous. I have a lot of money. We're going to, so prosperity, the people are here focused, but they've turned their lives over to somebody else. So now, I'm not going to go into that yet. But then the people, the average people, let's say the independents, the people whose lives are affected, we get kind of stuck between these, like parents, like a father, a mother who's grabbing for power. We have the kids, and then we have the neighbors, and these are the people who, like I said, function for their own interests. These are the people who make waves, and that's what I wanted to show you right here. Okay, so when they are oppressive, let's say, and this is something we're going to talk about at Oxford and Stonehenge too at one of our events. So what we have here are the people who right now who function for their own interests, who come in, and they are the people who never normally get involved with something, but when they see the opportunity to do that, they grab onto it as this is their opportunity to get their life. So we're looking at, let's say we're looking at the four groups again. We're looking at, let's say, the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, focused on money. We're looking at the average people, the independents, and then we're looking at the people like Donald Trump, and I'm going to put him into this group because he's making waves. He's causing problems. He's causing a rebellion, and the fourth group of people are the ones who start rebellions. He is the person who basically is going to get together with, he got together with the Republicans, like the mom and the neighbors coming together. She complained. He said, I've got the solution. Let's say they're in the process of getting a divorce, and she's complaining that and she's running to the neighbors for help, and the neighbors are saying, I can handle that. I'll help you. Okay, so that's where we are now. Okay, we have these four groups of people, and everybody has a focus. So the people who function for their own interests are causing waves, and ripples of effects have gone out, and they're playing power games, and you could say that this is where we are now, is facing all of the ramifications of this. Okay, so the solution to that is the World Peace Marketing Strategy, because it allows each of the four groups of people to get what they want. So the people who stand on the principles are the top row. The second row are the people who are grabbing for power and prosperity because their lives, their security and support has been threatened. This is the children, let's say the people, the families, the lives who've been the people who are not either of these people. These are just average people, the kids, so to speak. And then these are the people, like I said. So each one of them is going to get like out of the abyss. The World Peace Marketing Strategy is like everybody gets their opportunity to go to heaven. Each one of us is creating, the whole idea is to rocket out of the abyss. We're going to deal with all of these ripples of effects by bringing everybody through these ideas. The top people, the top row of people, what can I do? My cat wants my attention. These are the getting out of the abyss classes. The second row of people, excuse me, my cat wants my attention, and she has a tendency to take one claw and grab my leg. Okay. The third row of people are for the kids, and those are the people who, as I said, the second row people have to assume responsibility for their own security and support. Like, let's say all those 74 million people, Trump people, might be functioning for their own interests, or they might have turned their lives over to Donald Trump and said, he's going to make America great again. He's going to make America, meaning prosperous again. He's a businessman. He's going to make America prosperous. But when it comes down to the point where you realize that he was in it for his own benefit, then those people will turn away, and eventually Donald Trump's approval rating will only be 25%. He'll only work with this bottom row. Then, okay, so now each one of these, it's like a doorway. And then we're going to talk more about this at Oxford and Stonehenge, because this is something that is like an ancient idea. Okay, so now my focus today is on the top row. We've focused on Donald Trump for a very, very long time. The problem with Donald Trump is, like I said, if he functions for his own interests, he's 180 degrees from where he thinks he is. He's making waves. So let's say that he supports Russia, Russian intelligence, and rather than U.S. intelligence. And it's logical because let's say he says Putin is important to him, but then he puts Putin over the United States, and I can imagine why, because our U.S. intelligence has been watching him, and he doesn't want to be watched. So right now he has the state of our United States, you could say, is that we have Donald Trump had 74 million people who voted for him, but at the same time, he has all sorts of financial problems, and he has legal problems that are coming back to haunt him. He's been impeached twice, and the Republicans, the second row people or the fourth row people, are supporting him. The Republicans, the real Republicans, it should be R-I-N-O, real Republicans, not in name only, so to speak. Those are the people who basically are standing up and assuming responsibility. They're starting to free themselves of Donald Trump's control over the party. Okay, so we have right now, based on the Plan for World Peace, we have three groups of people again. Now we have three potential futures, and that is to stand on the principles when we're in a crisis situation. So what has happened now is that we have three potential futures, which is great. We have three because we're out of our crisis. When you're in a crisis situation, you only see two potential futures, and both of them are bad. One is straight ahead, and one is down. We always have three choices: up, down, or straight ahead. So you can stand on the principles. If you're in a crisis, you can stand on the principles. You can ignore the crisis and go straight ahead and then pass it on to future generations. And future generations, it takes 7 generations to undo the damage that's been done. Or you can go down into the power games. Okay, so now what we have to do is to realize, let's say Donald Trump has gone down into the power games by storming insurgency against and sedition against the U.S. government. I'm not accusing him of doing that. That's the focus of this investigation and everything. Or Joe Biden, when Trump got voted out, Joe Biden, everybody was so happy. But is Joe Biden able to solve the problems? Is he ignoring the problems because he can't figure out how to deal with the Republicans and Donald Trump? Okay, so we have three problems. If he's looking to solve the problem of the pandemic, what he hasn't, the root cause of the problem of the pandemic isn't a virus from way out there, like a little asteroid that came in and smashed into the planet, causing problems. We have to address the root cause of the problems. So now, when we have these situations where you don't see the way to go up by addressing the root cause of the problem, coming up with a plan to address the root cause of the problem, then you get yourself into a situation where people pray and they turn their lives over to God instead of turning their lives over to Donald Trump, okay, or Social Security, or hospitals and doctors, oncologists, or prisons. People get out of their situation by going to prison. Kind of a bad way to do it, but for some people it's the only way they can see it. Okay, so the other way is to come up with plans that address the root cause of the problem. So that's where we are right now. We're instead of focusing on Donald Trump and even on Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is still a Democrat, he's trying to figure out what to do, and now what we have to do is the power for peace is shifting on to this idea. So now I'm going to suggest this idea. Look at, for example, what would happen if you had let's say, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, possibly President Saleh of Yemen, because I believe that he's, behind ISIS. And there are ISIS sleeper cells in all the states and countries. But that doesn't mean they're ever going to wake up. We don't know what's going to trigger them to wake up. If there's a plan for world peace, we don't have to target Muslims in any country and any state to wake them up, because a lot of times they can just say, hey, I like this better. I don't have to do that. I don't have to wake up. They still have their choices too. If there's an opportunity to go up, they'll choose to go up. They just don't want to be backed into the corner where, see what I mean? They're people who have three choices too. So everybody's in the same situation. So what we have right now is our potential futures. Do we want to support Donald Trump or Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin or President Saleh if he wove an illusion that he actually has died and he's still alive and still pulling the strings? Are we going to make any of those people the emperor of the planet? I don't think so. But at the same time, are we going to choose, how many people are going to choose their leaders like Joe Biden? I'm not putting Joe Biden down. I'm not saying to overturn any existing government. I don't believe in toppling governments. I like to see everybody functioning on the higher level. But if they can't solve the problems, then those solutions fall back to the people. And this is where we go at this point in time, is the people are, when they're on that top row people, what can I do? Let's say that, like me, I stand on the principles, and what can I do to solve these problems? How do I solve the problems? And that is the top row of the World Peace Marketing Strategy. Okay, so as I said, we're a microcosm, and my organization is a microcosm of the world. The United States is a microcosm of the world, and the world is the world, the entire structure of everybody. If I am parallel to Saddam Hussein, I'm not in power anymore, but I'm still here, and I can allow him to function through me, and I can defend the Iraqi people where he can't anymore. Okay, so now that's where we are right now, is the exit strategy for Iraq. But the contingency for the plan, that is in Track Our Progress. You can find it on the website. This is a brochure that I hand out, but it's also just on the website. You can get both of these on the front page of our website at oneworldgov.org. So the first one is the exit strategy for Iraq. And it's this column right here. But the contingency is that the United States is willing to help with the constitutional amendment idea. So let's say that what I am is right now. Let's say what I am in the organization is the first musical person, instrument player, to come in, and going to I have an orchestra, and I'm going to start playing my music, testing my instrument, okay? So I'm doing that. But then the second person has to come in. And the way that is going to happen is, so we're looking now at my books. The first one is bringing in the professional publishing team. Then what happens is the contingency is the crisis center. So let's say that people are in crisis and they've turned their life, 74 million people have turned their lives over to Donald Trump and they're in crisis. Anybody's in crisis. How about the shooters? How about the people who are have health issues? Any crisis. My books are channeled messages from God on how to overcome any crisis. I can write a book and it's like a generic book, but it's really nice to also be able to go in and talk to somebody. You pray to God for help, and you can go to the crisis center because the channels are the people who have the power. I'm just a channel. I'm just a psychic. My gift from God is to be able to communicate with anyone on the other side. So I can talk to the past kings and queens and presidents who are my guides. I can talk to God. And Lady Gaia, and I am that I am. I can talk to Archangel Michael. I can talk to all these people. And then what happens is, but I'm only one person. So what has to happen is the other channels have to come in. Like I said, there's the organization and our channels, and then the 144,000 light bearers, and there's always a minimum of 144,000 light bearers, one for each culture and language, and a minimum of one culture and one language, and then there's the all the people who basically have light inside of themselves. We all have light inside of ourselves. Light is the creative substance that when you put a thought form into it, creates matter. So we are creative people, and that's how viruses came about. Okay? Somebody created out of fear, out of default, created a virus. We'll go into that later, okay, in other videos. So that's where we are right now, is the contingency. So let's say another channel is out there, and that person is running around trying to stop the mayhem that's going on from the people who function for their own interests. So now he or she is going, what can I do? What can I do? All these people are creating mayhem. What can I do? I'm being totally overwhelmed by people. Okay. How about if Joe Biden is president of the United States now and everybody's happy, but Donald Trump has left him in such a crisis that the Democratic Party is being undermined, and then Donald Trump is going to go in and take back control. In fact, that's, I think, what happened when Barack Obama got into office. I felt that the Republicans left the United States in a very bad place, and like booby trapped the whole thing, and then now they're going to work on taking it back, and the voter suppression and all the power games that are being played against everybody. So now that's where we are, is the Republicans want to have somebody to blame, and that's why, because they don't know how to solve problems either. So now the power, instead of shifting between this back and forth battle between the Republicans and the Democrats, the power is shifting to solving problems like you turn your life over to God. Now, I'm not saying turn your life over to me, because what I'm doing, because, hey, it's your life. You make your own choices. You always have 3 choices, okay? I'm not saying turn your life over to me or the organization. What I'm saying is the power is in the people. It always has been. So you need, on an individual basis, anybody who watches this video needs to know that you are responsible for your own choices. You are responsible for your own life, and where you are is based on what you believe. So, but now we can open ideas up to debate, and we can look at this. We have the third option that allows people to go up. Based on turning your life over to God, the creator of us all. Not the old man on the throne, but Lady Gaia and I am that I am, and the male and female aspects of God are coming back. The female aspects of God. It's no longer the Trinity, the Father, the Holy Ghost, and I don't even remember that anymore. It's gone out of my thinking. I don't even pay attention to that anymore. But what we have now is I am that I am, Lady Gaia, and then the Earth Mother and Universe Mother, and then we have the children. We're all God's children. Okay, so we turn our life when we're in a crisis situation. We turn our lives over to God. We say, God, help us, please. And Emmanuel for Peace, Seth, my spiritual teacher, says for world peace to come, half the population of the planet had to pray for peace. And that's why we got it. At our prayer circle, we were praying for peace, and they turned it over to us to introduce this idea. But I'm not the only channel. There are 144,000 light bearers out there, and more all the time because we have a whole new generation of the children are light bearers too. And that's why the children are also our future, and they are being born primed with information. So the overview idea today is that the power is shifting away from the people who say, trust me, and they can't solve the problems, or the people who are in power, but they don't know, they're basing their plans not on the root cause of the problems, and they're going to start asking for help. And now our plan has passed cultural review, and it's already starting to reach the point where it is the solution. So it's like, you can understand this. If you're in a crisis situation, if you have cancer and you've never imagined anybody telling you about God, and somebody comes up and says, I'm going to pray for you. And then all of a sudden, God, if there is a God, help me. And that's when you are able to understand that God is working with you. And that's one of our books. My books is the Crisis series, and it's basically Archangel Michael explaining how to overcome the end of life crisis, and Lady Gaia explaining how to unblock the energy in your life, and then I am that I am explaining how you got into the crisis in the first place by equating ideas that shouldn't have been equated. Okay, so that's where we are now, is the Donald Trump. Like I said, the focus is on the United States, and the Iraq War is fading out of existence. But how are you going to solve the problems? Then we have to go back to address the first existential threat, and that is the global genocide that's devolving, that started in Armageddon. This is the principles of the battles of Armageddon that we're facing right now. Okay, we'll go into that. I go into that other. But now, the contingency for the plan, I'm just going to keep introducing my books and talking about them and explaining how to solve these problems. But this next person to come in, who's going to be the next person on the bus, the next person to come in and tune his instrument or her instrument, and that person is going to come in and assume responsibility for the Crisis Center and the constitutional amendment idea. My organization is an overview organization. My overview idea cannot lobby Congress. We cannot lobby, but I can work with another group, and that group I can work and explain how things work, how everybody gets their life with that group. And they can work with me. It's a win-win agreement on this. So we have the books that explain generic type, like reading the Bible or the Quran or the Talmud or any of the holy books. And the next one is working with the channels, bringing 2 channels. because when there are two or more gathered in God's name, there's great power. Okay, so that's what's happening, is this person over here is being run ragged by the people who are making waves. And at some point in time, the groups are going to come together, and that'll happen. Now, I'm not saying who it is. I don't know who it is. The people probably know, but I'm going to continue on building. My responsibility is to put that first foundation block, the cornerstone, in for world peace, and it's already there. We've got members in 87 countries. That cornerstone is set in stone, so to speak. It's there. And now it's up to other people to come in and build the rest of the foundation and in our organization, so to speak. And then the United States will also be working to make sure that be able to take this information as we apply it here, then it will work there, and then on the global basis. So we have the overview idea of the plan, and you're welcome to follow along to track our progress, to figure out what row you are, and it doesn't matter which row you are. This will help you get what you want. It'll explain to you how to get the life you want. But we go into that in greater depth. If you're standing on the principles, this is the flower, addresses the flower of life level. You get invited into projects. You can be invited into projects. So like, as we go across this top row of the world peace of the world peace marketing strategy, we learn the lessons associated with how to rocket out of the abyss. So, and that is getting out of the crisis series, the first page of the catalog. And so each one of the government proposals has a set of books associated with it that explain the principles, the application of the principles, and then the planning process that allows you to kind of continue on. And so you're not stopped at just looking at one idea. And so right now we're just waiting for the people to say, God help me, and see that this is the solution to it. 87 people in 87 countries understand that this is a solution to the problems. Okay, that's it for today. I ask you to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Most of all, share.